congratulations. Ultramono has been the fastest selling vinyl release in the UK in 2020, and it rushed straight into the top spot, outselling every other artist in the top 5 by a long shot. How did a band like Idol celebrate the good news when the rest of the world isn't really allowed to celebrate?
Well, we celebrated by rehearsing and writing some more music. So, we haven't really. We're not really ones to dwell on things that have happened that much. We haven't had a party or anything like that. You know, it's an amazing thing. But yeah, you know, there's still more work to be done and still more songs to be written. So, I'm sure it will sink in at some point. I think we're all just a bit like, what the hell's that? You know, it's an amazing thing, but no proper celebrations, no rock and roll stories, so to speak.
And after the success of your second album, Joy is an Act of Resistance, was it a conscious decision to get right into the making of a follow-up record with Ultramono?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we so for us, we were just on tour a lot, and since Joy came out. But the timelines from when kind of Brutalism to Joy, for the public, it seemed like it was kind of, you know, it was very quick. But for us, it was a year and a half before Brutalism came out. So we had like quite a long time to get Joy together. And, you know, when we got Joy finished, we pretty much started thinking about the next record already. And, you know, so we gave ourselves enough time with it. And we had a very clear idea about what we wanted to do with this record. And I think it's kind of hopefully come across.
It has. I mean, what were the starting points? What ingredients did you have on the table? Was it drawn all from scratch, or did you have some ideas that didn't make it onto Joy?
So we basically we always start each record with the title, and that gives you the kind of impetus to like work within these boundaries, you know. So, you know, with Joy, we knew what we were working with within those lines, and with Ultramono, it was just very succinctly kind of us as an engine and working together. So that's kind of how we start stuff, you know. It just keeps our minds from wandering too far, you know. It's like having it's like being a painter and having endless colors on your palette, you know. It can be too much. So if you just kind of trim all that down to a certain amount of colors on the palette, then that's the texture and the tone you're going to create is from that.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, getting so many people sorted and ready to bring their best to rehearsals and recording sessions isn't an easy task for most bands, if we've studied the history of rock and roll. And while we hear a chaos in your music, you sound very well rehearsed. Like, I don't detect any sloppiness. Are there any methods? Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. That's not what we all hear when we're rehearsing, but thank you.
But are there any methods within the band structure that guarantee you always bring the best of yourselves to creative reunions?
Yeah, I mean, we've been a band for a long time now, so we've learned a lot along the path of, like, you know, making mistakes and learning how to write music and learning what's good for us as people and 5 individuals that are working together. So we have quite a succinct way of working with each other, and we know what each other's strengths are, so we kind of play to that. And, you know, we work very hard. You know, we work, you know, we're in the rehearsal room for 5 days a week now for 6-7 hours a day, like writing and getting better, and, you know, coming home, and we're always thinking about the music and, you know, just trying to learn new things and improve as musicians and as bandmates, really.
I mean, you've been in this band for longer than, 12 years?
Yeah. I think me and Joe started it in 2008, 2009, something like that.
Has it started to feel a little bit like work? You know how was it fun at the beginning, and now you're like, okay, this has become your career and you can make a great life out of it. You're doing what you love, but has it started to feel like, oh, damn it, we've got schedules now, we've got other people who depend on us? That kind of feeling that...
I mean, it does, but it's the best job in the world, you know. It's honestly like, it's all we've ever wanted from starting the band. Really, was to be able to be in this position, to be able to enable us time to be able to go, and do this. Because when we were starting and right up until kind of Joy, really, we were halfway through the tour of Joy. As an act of resistance, we were working full-time jobs, and we were kind of splitting it to enable us to be able to do the band. And we finally got in a position to go full-time with the band. And it just frees up all this time to be able to write more music, which is like I said, the dream, and it's what we've worked such a long time to get here.
Yeah. Congratulations once again. I mean, it is the dream, and you're making so many people happy at the same time, as well as you living your dream. But I wonder, is it? What are you drinking, by the way? Is this tea?
That's a cup of coffee. I'm feeling pretty jaded. I drank too much coffee earlier, and so I started to crash. And then I realised I was talking to you, and I was like, I probably should have another coffee at 6 o'clock in the evening, which is probably a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Here we are, Johann. Here we are.
Well, you're a rock and roll star now. You can afford to go to bed late because you can't sleep because of coffee. But maybe it's a little... Dev, I might be a bit too early to ask this in your career at this point, but is reaching an unexpected level of success like you have, can that start to become a hindrance to the raw creativity that you felt when you were hungry for it?
Not really. I mean, I think we're still just as hungry, and we still strive to write better music, and we still want to write better albums. We just have a few more tools at our disposal to be able to do it now. I think we're better songwriters. We're better musicians, and we know what works and what doesn't work. Whereas at the start, when you're just writing and you don't really know why something works and why something doesn't, but the better you get, the more you can take yourself away from that and say, well, that works because of this, or that doesn't work because of this. So now I think we're just hopefully in a position where we can scrap an idea instantly because we can go, no, that's not right because of this. And then, hopefully you just write better music because of it. And that's not to say that everything we write is great, because, we've written like 40 ideas for this next record, and some of it works, some of it doesn't, but you kind of have to go through that process to get there and to get the good stuff.
I read that getting the right sound was an important part of this record. What was it that drew you to work with a hip-hop producer like Kenny Beatz on a record where guitars and live drums are so upfront?
Well, I think Joe's explained it better in the past, but we're all big fans of hip hop, and there's a tone in the like negative space in the music. It can be quite sparse in instrumentation. Quite often it's just a kick drum and a synth, or a kick drum and a snare and a synth, but there's so much space in the music, but it sounds so full and rounded, and that was what we wanted to kind of achieve, because we were essentially a lot of the time, like me, Bowen and Lee were playing all as like one riff or one singular motif within the song, but then there was the drums on top, so it was like, right, how do we maximize the sound around those two instruments kind of thing. So that was like where the thought of, Joe's put the biggest hip hop band in the band, and we got a message from Kenny, and the stars aligned, and it was just meant to be on that one, I think. And thankfully, it kind of, I think it came out really pretty good of how we wanted it,
I know, it was very unexpected, because I imagine that there must be so many people, producers and engineers, who'd love to get their hands on a recording session with idols. Have you got a bit of a wish list for like future plans? Maybe not the next album, but down the line, do you do that kind of thing where you're like, oh, wouldn't it be great to see what would happen if you were in the same room as, I don't know, DJ Shadow, for instance, or...
I'm still kind of amazed at the people that we have worked with already, and I still feel like a bit of a kid in a sweet shop who we've worked with already, and I, who knows in the future. You have people where you'd like, be like, oh, that would be great to work with them or whatever, but I don't know, it's just kind of finding the right person for the right project as well. So I love Steve Albini. I think we all love Steve Albini, but there's certain things that he would be great for with us, and certain things that he really wouldn't work for with us. So, it's about just choosing the right, the right thing at the right time, I guess.
You also repeat with Nick Launay, who produced Joy and many records I own. Record producers are wise people. They've got a lot of experience dealing with all kinds of bands. What did you learn from just sitting back and observing his direction of this band in the studio?
His knowledge of guitars and guitar tone, and how to achieve a tone within the studio through technical stuff is second to none, and it's something that only he knows how to do. But yeah, he's an incredible producer. Him and Adam co-produced this record, and both of the ideas that they had for us was just stuff that you don't think about because you're a bit too close to the music, and it's great to have minds like that kind of delving in and suggesting things, that obviously they've got the knowledge for it. That's why they're there. But yeah, they're great people. It's great to work with them.
For instance, I noticed there's a lot of, how would I say, industrial textures, to put it bluntly. Did that come from your rehearsal space, or was that also Nick and Adam sort of thinking, hey, go for it with bringing like weird sounds out of the guitar?
Well, I think we kind of spent quite a lot of the time thinking about how to make the guitars not sound like guitars. It's our third record now, so Lee and Bowen especially are pretty knowledgeable about their craft and what they do, and they spend pretty much most of their nights just looking at pedal videos every night. So there's a lot of I think it was a great collaboration, because we had like the idea of like what to do, and like the start of Grounds with the Bowen's guitar that sounds like the synth with the roll down on the delay. And like being able to like have that idea, but it's not quite there. And then like Nick and Adam were like, oh, well, what if you add this to it and blah, 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 and put it through a 15 or whatever. And, that's, all of these little things kind of that happen in the studio, kind of what make the record,
After 3 albums and such a dedicated fan base, you're obviously doing something very right. Do you still get creative angst of not knowing what to try next?
Hells yeah. I mean, it's you kind of have an idea. Personally, it's like it's just about you kind of go into it and you try and stay as naive as possible within what you do, to kind of not let what's happened before affect your approach too much going into the next records. So hopefully, like you've kind of got to forget it all again to then start again, but you've still retained the knowledge, if that makes sense. Yeah,
not losing the innocence, not losing the childlike wonder, I guess.
Yeah, just being instinctive and just be like, why play a note when that sound that you've just like that feedback sounds great on top of that, just trying to stay with that kind of attitude about putting things in songs, because like I said, with the palette, when it's so big, you can just keep going and going and going, and you can never put the paintbrush down. So it's good to try and stay kind of relatively naive on things, I think is the best way to put it.
I was so lucky, I count my blessings. I was so fortunate to see you guys playing M. Benidorm last November, almost a year ago.
With Primal Scream.
Yes. For the Primavera Weekender, one of our last events. That was our last festival event, because this year obviously has been postponed. And that was my first experience seeing you guys live finally, and it was a great crowd, because it was only 1,000 of us, and it was intimate, and it was really incredible. And you guys really turn it up to 11, as they would say in Spinal Tap. Many artists suffer from post-tour depression, right? How do you guys deal with going back home and spending time idly while you recover from the exhaustion?
I like what you did. I like what you did there, Johann. Well, basically, we just try and decompress for quite a bit, and we hang out with our families and our partners, and we just try and take stock, and that's when you start reflecting on things that have happened over the course of that period of time. We just try and not try and relax. I don't know. I'm pretty bad for going out, so as soon as I try and stay pretty on the level on tour. I try not to drink too much or party too much. And then I come back from tour and I just I end up going out for a week and a half, just catching up with all my mates and just end up partying for far too long. So being on tour is weirdly quite healthy for me rather than being back in Bristol.
I'm assuming it was your idea to get physical with Dev. Yeah, sure. I'll be honest. I'm not an exerciser. I'm not great at it, and it's not my forte. But I can sure put the costume on anyway. No, and obviously it was great. It was a great way of interacting on social media. How important is it to this band to create community, not just with the music and the shows?
Yeah, I mean it is very important, and like social media can be a force for good. It's just there's a lot of kind of division in the world, and places like Afghan, like the fan community that's been created by those guys around the band, is a very positive thing in this kind of divisive society that seems to be happening through all the social media and stuff, and the right being on the far right, the left being on the very far left, or however you want to term it. But yeah, there are little pockets of things that do make you kind of feel good about it, and there is a force for good in social media in some ways, and I'm glad that there are those little pockets around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is definitely important for us. We do try and kind of stay in as much as possible.
The story of Idols is not one of overnight success. You did your fair share of playing, sorry for the word, shitholes, shall we say, before the world caught on.
They're definitely not shitholes. They are the backbone of the British and European music industries, and without them, we'd be pretty lost, and you wouldn't have the opportunity for bands like us to come through. But yeah, God bless those shitholes.
Yes, and especially now, we really have to support them. But from your experience, why are those harsher tours great for turning bands into power stations like yourselves?
Well, you just you're afforded the opportunity to kind of make mistakes, I think, and you get to learn your craft, and you get to get up close and personal with crowds and build that connection with fans, and as much as social media is a thing, I think because for the 5-6 years that we were touring before, we got to meet fans, and we were always hanging around. Like me and John did the match for 3-4 years on tour, so we were just always meeting people, and that's the kind of community-based thing that's kind of that we're more attuned with, I think, and that's we've met some beautiful people along the way. So yeah, I think those venues are, like I said, the lifeblood of creating bands to progress if they want to progress, or if they're you don't need to get bigger. It's fucking wonderful playing at venues that size.
Yeah, true. What's the trying to remember? What's the lowest of the low you remember from being on one of those first tours? Traveling far to do a gig, and it's not like Spain where it's sunny and stuff. I can imagine a November tour or something when it's raining, it's pissing down, you're playing on a Tuesday, that kind of thing. Because those things, as you say, they do build character. What's the lowest there was, a point where you thought, you know what?
I mean, it's from a personal point of view. I mean, I'd never really look at the gigs as like a downside, but it's, your own personal behaviours can definitely let you down. And I think there was a show that we did. We went to our very first award show at the Q Awards on like the night before our biggest London show at the time at the Forum, Kentish Town Forum. And I ended up going to the pub with a friend of mine afterwards, and there was a lock-in at the pub, and I didn't leave until about 6 o'clock in the morning. And when I got back to the venue to get onto the bus, I couldn't remember the code to get into the gate. And so I was so embarrassed about getting back that late, and I knew it was like a bad move. I didn't want to call anyone on the bus to wake them up. So I ended up sleeping on the street outside the venue for about 2 hours in September in London in the cold. And then I had to go and do a photo shoot at about 9:30 in the morning. So it's things like that that kind of make you realise to never, ever, ever do that again. You learn from your mistakes, and you learn from it pretty hard. And that was definitely one of those times.
Oh, yeah. I totally understand you. I've become so tame now. I always know when to call it a night.
After that, Johann, so have I.
We get old, we can't. We get on it. We're no longer teenagers.
No, I need 2 days off afterwards if I'm going to do anything like that anymore.
Speaking of being teenagers, what were the bands that you looked up to as a teenager that made you want to create the type of energy and sound that generates mosh pits and catharsis?
I kind of like grew up when I was like 11, 12 years old. I was into bands like Super Furry Animals, and I think Oasis were one of the first bands I was into, and like the Britpop stuff that was kind of around at the time. Being 10 or 11 years old, that was, my introduction to guitars and things. But yeah, I think probably the first band that kind of did the real noisy stuff was like, I remember like Mogwai put out Young Team in like 96, I think, and then Spiritualized put out Ladies and Gentlemen, We're Floating in Space, and there was like this kind of a lot of noisy elements on that record as well. And I think those two albums and bands like Idlewild as well, with their first few records, like really made me kind of steer down a path of getting into gnarlier kind of music, and not just songs about going out at the weekend or whatever, I
saw you on your Instagram that you had a photo with Mogwai. Was that a dream come true moment, sharing a bill with them?
Yeah, I mean they're honestly one of my all-time favorite. Like, I genuinely absolutely love everything that they do. And yeah, they were just in a festival in France somewhere, and they just looked up and they were there. And I don't often kind of go over, or I get quite nervous about stuff like that, but I thought it was my ever opportunity of meeting them, so I walked over like a complete prize twat and was like, hello, hi. But now we share the same guitar tech, which is quite interesting. So,
ooh, nice.
He tells us stuff about loud noises, which is great.
Oh, wow. Imagine the insight. Is that ethical? Can you ask him stuff like, well, what did Mogwai do on for that moment in that live show, when they play Mogwai Fear Satan or something, that it sounds even louder than it has been less sounding for the last 20 years or whatever?
I mean, I think I can. It's the thing is, I think it's, I think trade secrets are kind of maybe best left to those guys if they don't want them going out, Yeah.
Like when you'd cover your in an exam, you'd cover your test, I can see Stuart or...
You've always got that one mate looking over your shoulder like, what's that one? Yeah. No, it's, I've met those guys a few times now and stuff, and they're wonderful people, and, they still continue to create just such amazing music.
Yeah, total respect, Mogwai. Speaking of...
I was just going to say, I remember we did a signing, like they were playing at Primavera the year that we played, and we were doing a signing in the tent, and they were playing on the Ray-Ban stage, I think, maybe.
Could be.
And yeah, it was like right behind. I was just like sat there like, this is absolutely amazing, you know, just sitting there and just being able to hear them in the background while you're playing your favourite festival in the world. So yeah, it's things like that make you feel very humble and appreciative of what we do and the opportunities that we get, you know.
Yeah. Well, because live music has been put on hold in a way, you know, some people manage to do small gigs and stuff, but we're reminiscing a lot with artists that we get to interview, you know, because that's all we can do for now, reminisce for the golden days. Do you have any funny memory or anecdote from a backstage, apart from that time that you had to sleep on the floor in London on the street? Do you have any other sort of backstage memory that stands out? It's like, oh god, this one's going into your autobiography.
Oh mate, too many, but I've got to save them for my memoirs, haven't I, Johann? I can't give them all out now. I don't know, just like, you know, I've been I think me and Joe and Bowen and John as well, actually, have been going to Primavera for years, even before the band was even touring. It's basically our favourite festival to go to. Like, the lineup is just always just absolutely incredible, and you know, just being able to play that for the first time was just like an absolute fucking dream. Like, it really was. So yeah, stuff like that is definitely things that, you know, you remember. You know, you forget about all the traveling and the 3 a.m. lobby calls and stuff like that.
Yeah,
when you get to do stuff like, you know, play beautiful festivals like Primavera.
Not to turn this into a name-dropping fest, but one of the cool, nice things about Primavera Sound backstage is loads of people end up forging nice friendships. Is there anyone you've become closer with, or that you met that was like you had a really sort of good kinship with, either Primavera or any other festival?
I mean, we kind of you know, we've met. I think the National we've become good friends with over time. Yeah, I mean, Sharon Van Etten, we met Warren Ellis backstage at a gig, and you know, like Rolling Blackouts, Coastal Fever. You know, just on the way, you just meet these just absolutely amazing people who you end up staying in touch with. It's truly a wonderful thing. So you just realise, you know, you're kind of in awe of these like wonderful people, and then, you know, you just realise that everyone's just a fan of music, and you just sit down and you just chat about, you know, the thing that you all love the most. And It just feels like the most natural thing in the world.
Speaking of, you know, Warren Ellis collaborates on the album. Yeah.
He came down because obviously he's worked with Nick many times, and he lives in Paris. And Nick was like, oh, well, you know, Warren's coming down today, and kind of came up from doing a take, and he's just stood in the kitchen looking absolutely amazing in this like beautiful suit, and we're like, holy fuck, there's Warren Ellis. So, oh shit. Like, you know, we'd met, I think Bowen and Joe had met him once before at a festival in Belgium. But yeah, to actually just sit down and have like a proper conversation with him and stuff, and, you know, getting him in the booth to do his thing on a track was just, yeah, it's the stuff dreams are made of, really. Obviously,
everyone's talking and asked you a lot about Jamie Cullum being such an unexpected collaborator on this album, and you've explained it many times, you know, that you met at an award show, if I'm not mistaken, Mercury Music Prize?
Yeah, I think we met him at the Mercury's, but he'd been I think he'd been kind of tweeting about us since like Brutalism, to be honest, and that was one of those like, what the fuck, like, more like, is that actual Jamie Cullum? Like, you know, and like, yeah, we actually finally got to meet him, and we got on really well. And then, you know, I think we posted a photo of Warren being in the studio, and then Jamie kind of messaged us and was like, hey, I'd love to be involved in any way possible. And we're like, yeah, man, fucking bring it on, you know.
Because he is such an incredible musician. Did you get to share time in the studio, or was it a file sharing situation?
No, this was like this was kind of as COVID started to like really kind of kick in, so we had to like kind of do it separately, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll get to hang out and do something soon.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Going back to the technical aspect, when I watched you at Primavera Weekender in Benidorm, I got this feeling that there was this, from start to finish, there was this constant kind of like an engine roar going on with your sound. You know, it's like this rumbling, this constant rumble. Is it a technical thing that you do with your amps and your pedals? What is it exactly? Is it something deliberate, or was it just my perception at that moment with the echoes of the venue?
There's certain points where we do want it to sound like this absolute block of noise, but there is also the very big chance that something fucked up really badly, Johann, because that's what we do quite well. It's I don't know. Yeah, it's our sound engineer is pretty astute, so I'm sure it would have been something purposeful.
But it's not like that. Okay, I don't want you to spill all your secrets, but it's not like there's a backing track. I don't know. It's almost like, you know, when you go and have a stew somewhere, you know, to some restaurant, and it's like, oh, there's this funky flavor. I can't get words around what it is, but I just need more of it. And that's what I take away from that Idol show. It's like this. It's addictive. It's addictive. Yeah. Keep it up.
Yeah. Well, we like I said, we've spent quite a long time, especially like Bowen, and Lee. They, because they're the ones with all the kind of options. So we think a lot about kind of what frequencies are being filled to try and make it sound as full as possible. So even though I might be doing the low end, a lot of the time Bowen is doing even lower than I am to kind of like fill out that sonic space. So yeah, so it's a lot of things like that go into our thought processes and our playing.
I've read that Joe rejects, and I think all of you would do, reject the notion that Idols are a punk band. Has this been something you all agree on, or have there been long discussions in the van on tour about this existential crisis, shall we say?
Oh no, it's cool. It's like, people need labels, and like that's fine. It's just, it's just something that, it's. I don't think it just really reflects what we do as much as, it's. For me personally, I don't mind it. I don't think any of us mind it really, but we're just trying not be. What's the word? What's the best way to put this, Johann? What's the best way to put this? I don't know. We just kind of. I think it just can kind of like pigeonhole us if you want to do something else outside of the box, or people only see you as this kind of thing, and we want to spread our wings, and it can be quite reductive to just put people in one little box and not allow them to be able to try new things.
Well, I said it was going to be the last one, but this makes me think. As I say, your albums sound like they are intended to be performed live, and you're taking so many dynamics into account, and the audience. Have you ever sort of considered that you might also like to try making an album that is more made to just enjoy in the household, like a lockdown album, maybe not a lockdown album, but just sort of maybe a more atmospheric, something more experimental, which isn't so much about setting it up live?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be, it's about wanting to progress as musicians and people, and we're 5 individuals who don't only just listen to one thing. So, like, yeah, I mean, it would be an amazing avenue to be able to kind of explore at some point, and just trying out different things, because we want to try and express ourselves in many varied and interesting ways if we can. If we're not just labelled as a punk band, maybe.
Well, thank you so much, Dev, for this interview. It's been a real pleasure talking to you this afternoon.
Hey, you too, man. You too. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your festival. It's truly amazing, and I can't wait to come back.
Oh, we can't wait to have you back and celebrate and listen to live music and see what Ultramono sounds like live. So have a good afternoon, have a good dinner, and I hope you don't stay up too late for drinking coffee.
Yeah, that's the last one now, man. That's the last one.
All right. Bye-bye. Signing off.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Take care.